A judge today all but called him a traitor. The president today wished him well. The question is why? And that's not the only one. John Berman here in for Anderson. This was supposed to be sentencing day for fired National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who pleaded guilty to several felonies, including lying to the FBI about contact with Russians during the transition. Almost everyone thought this would be simple. In, out, no jail time. A small number, the president's most ardent supporters, did hope maybe this would be the moment Flynn would take a stand, play the victim to some unfair prosecution, and back out of his plea deal. None of that happened, not even close. But before all the surprises, the president tweeted this. Good luck today in court to General Michael Flynn. Will be interesting to see what he has to say, despite tremendous pressure being put on him about Russian collusion in our great and obviously highly successful political campaign. Now we'll try to divine what he meant there and contrast his good luck and his gentle treatment of Flynn with that of Michael Cohen, who is also cooperating with investigators. But before we do, keeping them honest in all the noise you've been hearing today, I just want to put up this presidential tweet from about a year ago. I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president and the FBI. He has pled guilty to those lies. President Trump himself a year ago saying he fired General Flynn for lying to the FBI, acknowledging his guilty plea. And today, Flynn reaffirmed it. He did not complain, as the administration has, about FBI entrapment, an argument, by the way, that General Flynn rejected when asked by the judge today, and so did his attorneys. But if that weren't drama enough, Judge Sullivan rebuked Flynn, saying with respect to other charges, quote, arguably you sold your country out. Now, he later walked that back, and he put off sentencing until March. So, quite a day. Not a good one for anyone claiming, as the White House did this morning, that Flynn was ambushed by the FBI. Yet when asked about it this afternoon, this is what Sarah Sanders said.
Those are facts, and certainly there may be other issues there, but that we don't have any reason to want to walk that back.
Wait, what? Was that some sort of attempted Jedi mind trick? Because General Flynn himself today blew a hole straight through the claim that Sanders and others around her were making. Flynn wasn't ambushed by the FBI. He wasn't trapped. He said so himself today. And Sarah Sanders, the Sarah Sanders who last week said she wanted her legacy to be honesty and transparency, said she didn't see any reason to walk back her false claims. Those are not the droids you're looking for. Anyway, that element wasn't the only intriguing part of the day. As you might know, Michael Flynn has been offering, in Robert Mueller's words, substantial cooperation. But the president has kind words for him. Michael Cohen is cooperating as well. Yet, as you also know, the president is lobbing tweets like this at him. Remember, Michael Cohen only became a rat after the FBI did something which was absolutely unthinkable and unheard of until the witch hunt was illegally started. Now, you might be wondering, why does one cooperator get good luck from the president and the other get good riddance? Keeping them honest, you wouldn't be alone.
I mean, he seems to be concerned that Michael Cohen is a liar. Is he concerned that one of his top aides lied to the FBI and was working for a foreign government?
Not when it comes to things that have anything to do with the president. The activities that he has said to, and again, we'll let the court make that determination, to have engaged in don't have anything to do with the president.
Is the president concerned that Michael Flynn lied to a representative of his own government and was working for another government during the campaign? Is that concern him or not?
Look, there's certainly concern, but that's something for the court to make that determination, and we'll let them do that.
Positive comments about him when he's pleaded to this.
Again, we're going to let the court play that out, and they'll make a determination on whether or not he engaged in something right or wrong.
Okay, first off, the court has made a determination about right or wrong. Flynn pleaded guilty. The judge accepted his plea. When Sarah Sanders was asked today again and again and again about what makes Michael Flynn different from Michael Cohen to her boss, she had no good answer, which did not go unnoticed in the briefing room on her way out the door.
Thanks, guys.
Sarah, 1-minute briefing, Sarah.
Do your job, Sarah.
More now on some of those unanswered questions about why Michael Flynn seems to be getting kid glove treatment from the president and the White House's inability to say why. Joining us for that, strategic analyst and author, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Colonel, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it.
John.
Let's set aside the legal aspects of this for a second. What do you make of the president preemptively urging Michael Flynn good luck today? Does that make any sense to you?
Well, yeah, I think he's dangling a pardon. But also, if you look at the difference, the disparity between the treatment of Cohen and the treatment of Flynn, it suggests to me, as a former intelligence officer, that Flynn knows things that are even more damaging potentially to Trump than Cohen does. And again, looking at it, reading the externals as it were, it would appear to me that Flynn was the messenger boy. He was the conduit between Igor or Ivan X and the president. And we shall see what emerges from the Mueller investigation. But there's clearly, there's just so much more to this, John, than we know, and Mueller is sitting on a volcano.
So your analysis, from what you see based on your experience, is you think the president is treating Michael Flynn differently because he has to?
Well, he feels that he has to. President Trump is not a generous man. See the decision in New York today about his charities. He doesn't give freebies to much of anybody. And here's Mike Flynn, who in the past, as you just pointed out, he called General Flynn out for lying, and suddenly Flynn's not so bad. Flynn's okay. I think he may have had second thoughts. He may have realized that there are probably conversations between Flynn and Trump with nobody else there, and quite possibly conversations involving the Russians. So again, all this is speculation, John. We need to see where it goes. But I will tell you this, that today, a judge in Washington, D.C. stood up for our country. He spanked everybody in Washington. He was telling everybody with those angry remarks, and yes, he had to walk some of them back a bit, but he was angry. And it was refreshing to see somebody in Washington in genuine anger, not calculated anger, someone who really cares about this country and who reminded even Robert Mueller, whom I admire enormously, reminded even Mueller of the seriousness, the gravity of Flynn's offenses. Here is a former three-star general who, in the judge's word, appears to have sold our country out. It certainly appears that way to me, but I have a very high standard when it comes to military officers. And so I felt that we should all be proud of our judicial system today, and also what happened in New York. But the judges came through. You know, the good news in all of this is, although it can be frustratingly slow to some, our system of government works, and those who need to be held accountable will be held accountable. And I have to wonder about Judge Sullivan, who's now my new hero. He's a D.C. guy. He went to Howard University. He's seen the grave disparities in D.C. and disparities in treatment. And I wonder if it didn't rub him the wrong way to know that, you know, a young punk steals a car, wrecks it, goes to jail. A three-star general sells out his country and walks.
All right, let me see if I can get a few questions in here and break down just a little bit what you said. First, to be clear, we do not know what Michael Flynn has testified he talked to the president about when it comes to Russia. We may learn more about that. The judge may know more about that because maybe there's something in those large redacted sections of the legal documents that have been submitted. Again, we simply don't know. To the issue of selling out the country, the judge, Judge Sullivan, the man you call your hero, he had to sort of back off that a little bit. He had to back off that because it turned out that Michael Flynn wasn't doing work for Turkey when he was national security advisor. He didn't back off it much. He still said he was disgusted, but he backed off it a bit, and he used the word treason. Now, there are some people who thought that it went too far when he asked if Michael Flynn committed treason. Do you think he went too far when he raised the question?
No, I don't think he went too far. We've gotten too blasé about all this. This is about whether it's selling out your country or giving away your country or lying about your country, defrauding the country. Choose your words. There's a dictionary full of adjectives that we can use, and adverbs, throw in some adverbs as well. But the bottom line is this. Mike Flynn betrayed his trust as an officer, as an intelligence officer, an Army officer, a high government official who aspired to be and briefly was national security advisor. And, you know, everybody's focusing on the Turks right now. That's a sideshow. The whole Trump affair, at the bottom of all this, despite all the other evidences of corruption in the Trump mob and Trump empire, it all comes back to Russia, Russia, Russia. And Mike Flynn, for me as a former Army officer, who believes military officers must subscribe to a much higher level of ethics than you see in Washington, D.C. on a daily basis, for him to have taken money, essentially from Vladimir Putin, from Russian television, which is Vladimir Putin, for him to have collaborated as he appears to have done with the Russians. That, for me, is the grave concern. And by the way, clearly, as you observed, John, the judge today saw things we haven't seen, and it made him angry, and I trust the judiciary.
Very quickly, one unanswered question from today and all the documents is why Michael Flynn lied about his conversations with Ambassador Kislyak. Do you have any thoughts about perhaps why he lied?
Because he thought he could get away with it. Because it was the easy way. Because he'd been a golden boy. Mike was a brilliant soldier. He did terrific work in Afghanistan and Iraq. There's no taking that away from him. He can be proud of that. But he needs to be ashamed of what he did afterward. And he needs to be punished for it. And there's a saying in the military, which I will clean up for the television audience. One aw shucks cancels 100 attaboys.
Colonel Ralph Peters, thanks very much for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. And thank you for
John.
cleaning it up.